Does anyone get it? When other people dump their ex-boyfriends, they might feel a little guilty at worst. When I dumped my ex-boyfriend, I got publicly crucified in front of millions of viewers. I was watching that devastatingly handsome face on TV when he said it. That one line. She said she was worried we'd have a dumb kid. I nearly snorted the ramen I was eating right out of my nose. Who would have guessed that the quiet, unassuming college boyfriend I used to have would now be Hollywood's biggest star? After we graduated from NYU, I dumped him, only for him to become this huge actor. When an interviewer asked if he'd ever truly been in love, he didn't hesitate at all. Yes, he said, in college. The reporter, sensing a story, immediately followed up. So what happened? Mike went quiet for a moment, a shadow passing over his features. Just as the reporter was about to change the subject, he spoke again. She dumped me. The resentment in his voice was thick enough to cut with a knife. And the reason for the breakup was... The reporter seemed to have forgotten his entire list of questions. She said, I'm a Gemini, and she is too, Mike explained, and she was afraid we'd have a kid with a split personality. It was obvious Mike was saying this through clenched teeth, his expression stormy. The reporter's face was a mask of strained professionalism. I could tell he was seconds away from laughing. Suddenly, my phone lost service, and then Twitter completely crashed. The comments section exploded. Who is she? I need to know what goddess had the nerve to dump Mike. A legend. A Gemini kid with a split personality? With his face, I wouldn't care if the kid was the Antichrist. I'd sell my house to raise it. Why does Mike look so hurt, though? Wouldn't you be hurt if someone dumped you for a reason that's stupid? You can tell his ex has a sense of humor, at least. For a while, everyone was trying to figure out who he was talking about. What I didn't expect was for my name to get dragged into it, just because Mike and I both went to NYU. I bet it's Mia. They went to NYU together. And honestly, they're both so ridiculously good-looking. My biggest regret is that we've never seen them in the same shot. But it wasn't just Mike's fans. My own fan base jumped in to do damage control. Mia is stunning on her own. They don't know each other. But thanks for the compliment. Standing Mia is always a good investment. Then, out of nowhere, a brand new account started going viral. It was filled with old campus photos of Mike with another rising starlet, Jessica. In almost every picture, Jessica was gazing adoringly at Mike, while he was only ever seen from the back, his expression hidden. Jessica was smiling tenderly, like she was looking at the love of her life. For a moment, the internet thought they had their answer. Of course, a sweet, beautiful girl like our Jessica would be the one to capture Mike's heart. Please, she wishes. Is she even in his league? Get out of here. Protect my boy Mike. No way this is real. He's been famous for years, and they've never interacted. That's how you know it's real. They're being discreet. There are always actresses trying to ride Mike's coattails, but his PR team is usually lightning fast with denials. This time, however, there was only silence, which led everyone to believe it was true. Even Mike's most loyal fans started to lose their footing. Does our Mike really like her? Her whole vibe, her looks, they just don't match him at all. But it wasn't long before Mike's studio issued a statement, clarifying that they were unaware of the photos and requested the original account take them down. Mike himself also tweeted a single, brutal reply. Don't know her. 3 little words that completely demolished Jessica's credibility. Mike's fans were back in full force. The denial might be late, but it's never absent. LMAO, he literally doesn't know her. Another pathetic clout chaser. It's because Mike is just that amazing. Every stray wants a piece of him. What's with the snark? My girl Jessica never said she was dating Mike. Then why didn't she deny the rumors? The internet was a war zone, but I tuned it all out to focus on my work. I just signed on for a travelogue reality show, and since I've been dying to see the world, it was the perfect gig. There were 6 cast members in total. When I saw Leo saunter over to chat like we were old friends, I couldn't help but frown. I barely knew the guy. Leo and I had played a couple in a movie once, and our on-screen chemistry earned us a lot of shippers. But my agent never mentioned anything about manufacturing showmans for this series. Then I remembered that Leo's career was a little lukewarm right now. He was probably hoping to use this show for a publicity boost. If seeing Leo just made me uncomfortable, seeing Mike made me want to bolt for the nearest exit. What is this fresh hell? Mia, long time no see. Mike had just arrived, and he was already walking over to me with a polite, practiced smile. I looked at his outstretched hand and, not wanting to seem weak, gave a slight smile and gently squeezed his fingertips. Long time no see. He then smoothly positioned himself right next to me, and my mind started racing. To be honest, I still felt a little guilty about how I broke up with him. I can still see him at sunset, stubbornly holding my hand, his eyes filled with a mixture of defiance and hurt. Do they know each other? They look pretty familiar. They've both been famous for years, but have never worked together. Did I miss something? Is it just me? Or is the way Mike's looking at her a little intense? They both went to NYU, right? Maybe they knew each other back then, but weren't close. That seemed to be the only plausible explanation. I was hoping this would be a fun, relaxing shoot, but 2 was apparently not enough. Another person I'd hoped to avoid showed up, Jessica, and unless I was mistaken, she was here for Mike. I didn't like Jessica, and it had nothing to do with Mike. I just didn't like her personality. Talking to her always felt fake and insincere. It was exhausting. Sure enough, Jessica kept glancing in Mike's direction. After greeting the others, she made her way toward us, her eyes crinkling in a smile. She was definitely attractive. Mike, long time no see. Hey, Mike replied with a slight nod. His response polite but brief. Didn't he say he didn't know her? Guess Mike has 2 faces. LOL, when someone is that desperate for your attention, you have to be polite. It's not the puppy's fault for being a puppy. For some reason, even though Mike was standing behind and to my right where I couldn't see his face, I felt his eyes on me. Hi, Mia, Jessica said. She was being perfectly polite. Maybe I was just being paranoid. Suddenly, I felt a light touch against my hand, and a cool sensation shot up my arm. I turned my head, but Mike was just looking at his phone, completely nonchalant. It must have been an accident. His hands were always like that, cold no matter the season. He used to be so clingy, always making me hold his hands and complaining about how cold they were. All 6 of our guests have arrived. We'll be on an 8 a.m. flight to Los Angeles tomorrow. For now, please relax and sort out your own dinner. A friendly reminder that tonight's meal is up to you. Leo spoke up first. I can cook, I'll handle it. Everyone thanked him, but we felt bad letting him do all the work. Jessica quickly offered to help him out. You know, she was actually being pretty helpful and considerate. Mike was silent, which fit his cool, reserved public image perfectly. I knew he wouldn't be like he used to be, constantly chattering away, sharing every little detail of his day with me. I'd never again get to eat the meals he made, like his perfectly seared steaks or his slow-cooked ribs. Leo made a whole spread of food. It wasn't gourmet, but it was nice and comforting. Mike sat down right next to me, which was a surprise. I figured he'd want to stay as far away from me as possible. Is it just me, or is the vibe between them super weird? You didn't say who, but I know exactly who you mean. Could it be that Mia was Mike's first love? I love intense flavors. For me, a meal isn't complete without some heat. Mike was the complete opposite. His palate was so mild that his food tasted like cardboard to me. I once tried to get him to taste a mildly spicy slider. He only ate it because I handed it to him. The second it hit his tongue, his eyes started watering, and he had to chug 3 glasses of water. That was the day I found out he had a sensitive stomach and couldn't handle spicy food at all. He just quietly curled up against me, miserable but sweet for the longest time. You like spicy food too, Mia? Leo asked with a smile, noticing what I was putting on my plate. I love spicy food. Guess we have that in common. Any goodwill I had towards him for cooking immediately evaporated. A lot of people like spicy food. It was such a clumsy attempt to connect with me. But we had worked together, and faking a showman's is part of the job. I'm a professional actress. After all, I put on a surprised expression. Oh, really? We should go get Nashville hot chicken sometime. My smile was so bright and cheerful that even I could barely tell it was fake. My ship is sailing. This is so sweet. OMG, I think Mia really wants to go on a date with Leo. It's mutual. Whoa, what is he doing? Stop. Holy crap. Is Mike out of his mind? Mike eats spicy food too? Leo asked, clearly trying to make conversation. My head snapped toward Mike. I watched him slowly place a spicy shrimp in his mouth and swallow it without a single change in his expression. His plate was piled high with shells. He'd been eating the spicy crawfish. He just kept mechanically peeling and eating them, his face a complete blank. Are you insane? I suddenly snapped, grabbing the crawfish from his hand. I ripped off my gloves and pinched his cheeks. Spit it out. My voice was harsh, and I must have scared him because the corners of his eyes turned red. He obediently opened his mouth and spat out the unchewed bite of crawfish. Everyone else just stared at us in confusion. I realized how I must have looked and quickly composed myself. He can't eat spicy food, I explained. He has a sensitive stomach. I poured a glass of water and pushed it toward Mike, who drank it down obediently. I think I'm starting to understand something. Honestly, I wouldn't even be mad. Even if it's true, they broke up. Let my girl Mia shine on her own. Yeah, anyone could see Mike did that on purpose. Mia was just worried he'd end up in the hospital. Later, I was on the balcony having a cigarette when Mike came out, saying he needed some air. He gave a soft cough, and I frowned before putting out the cigarette I'd just lit. As I did, I caught the faintest hint of a smile playing on his lips. Was he just smiling? Mia actually put out her cigarette for him. Can you two just get married already? Welcome to the actor's gambit. Mike didn't look well. His face was pale, and a sheen of cold sweat was breaking out on his forehead. Well, that's what he gets for foolishly eating that spicy food. He deserves it. God, he's so annoying. I'm just worried you'll ruin the mood for everyone else. Meds? He asked, his voice weak. Didn't bring them, I replied flatly. It sounded like saying that took all the energy he had. He never knew how to take care of himself, and now his stomach was killing him. I'll get the director to send you to a hospital. Don't, he said. I ignored him. Does it hurt? His stomach was obviously churning, and he pressed his forehead against a mug of hot water. I fought back the urge to hold him and just said coolly, "Who told you to drink hot water?" Mike pressed his lips together and went silent, clearly upset. LMAO, he looked so offended by the hot water suggestion. I can't stop laughing. Come on, Mia. Just comfort him a little. It's no secret that I have a pretty bad smoking habit, and I've gotten a lot of flack for over the years. Now that I put my cigarette out, I was itching for another one. Back when we were together, I actually quit smoking because of Mike. Whenever I got a craving, I just kiss him instead. He was way more addictive than nicotine, even when he was pouting. On the plane, he still ended up in the seat next to me. He can be pouty, but he can't be without his future wife. LOL. Are you reading Mia's mind? Honestly, Mike was a mess of problems. Motion sickness, air sickness, that sensitive stomach, and, oh yeah, he's terrified of ghosts. He clearly wanted to get back together, but I wasn't interested. If we got back together, people would just say I only came crawling back because he's a huge star now after dumping him when he was a nobody. Mia, I feel a little dizzy, Mike said in a small voice, turning to look at me with weak, miserable eyes. I forced myself not to look at him and just gave a flat, oh. Wifey's dizzy, needs a shoulder. OMG, you totally get Mike's thought process. I was trying not to laugh, but Mia's epic eye roll broke me. Mia, he asked, can I just rest my head on your shoulder for a bit? I'll be really quiet, and I don't drool. You could tell it was an effort for him to speak. His voice was much softer than usual. Mike just kept looking at me with that same stubborn, persistent expression he always had back in college. TCH, I clicked my tongue in annoyance, glaring at him. The second I heard that TCH, I knew she was going to give in. I shot him a look, then said nothing and closed my eyes. He knew that meant yes, and he gently rested his head on my shoulder. I'm deceased. Mike's fans are such hypocrites. When it was Jessica, it was a problem, but with Mia, it's fine. So cringe. Did you forget to think before you typed? There's a difference between someone thirsting after him and someone he's thirsting after. Mike really was feeling awful. His brow was furrowed in pain, his eyelashes trembled, and his lips were pale. It was different from how he used to be. Back then, whenever he was hurt or sick, he would never tell me or let it show. He was always so stoic it broke your heart. I told him countless times not to just suffer in silence, that he needed to tell me. But he never got any better at it. I'd have to get properly angry before he'd come over and whisper, I'll be better next time, but he never was. So this time, seeing him actually show his vulnerability and tell me he was feeling sick, I felt a strange sense of relief. Once we landed in LA, we got our first challenge. Visit and post from a famous local landmark or a viral tourist spot. Please pair up and begin your journey. The director knew exactly how to create drama. Given how tangled up Mike and I were at the moment, I couldn't even imagine what people were saying online. Mike stayed right by my side. Leo and Jessica both glanced over, but seeing us standing together, they didn't bother approaching. Everyone seemed to tacitly accept that Mike and I were a unit and didn't want to interfere. My plan was to just hit the closest landmark, but when I glanced at Mike, I saw him staring at the haunted theme park on the map, a thoughtful look on his face. I couldn't imagine he'd actually want to go there, since he's terrified of ghosts. Still, I figure I should at least pretend to be democratic, especially since we were on a live feed. Mike, I asked, any thoughts on where to go? I was thinking about going here, if that's okay. But if not, that's fine too. Whatever you want. I felt my eyebrow start to twitch. After a setup like that, how could I possibly say no? Ding dong. Your daily dose of Mike's manipulation has arrived. He's such a master of passive aggression that if not, that's fine too is a classic. I am impressed. I shot him a look. Fine, we'll go to the haunted park. My first thought was to grab a cab, but he immediately looked hesitant. I get carsick, he said. It's awful. Could we maybe take the bus? Of course, if you don't want to, that's fine. God, somebody hold me back before I throttle this master manipulator. If you don't want to, that's fine. As long as you have no shame, you can get whatever you want from your future wife. We ended up taking the bus. After greeting the driver, we found a place to stand. It was crowded, and when the bus lurched, Mike stumbled and ended up pressed right against me. He stayed that way until her stop. I noticed the tips of his ears were bright red the entire time. It was actually kind of cute. When we got to the haunted house, we saw a crowd gathered around a promotional table. Coupe promotion. Participate and take a photo for our social media to get 90% off admission and a free movie ticket. The big, bold letters on the sign were definitely eye-catching. Mia. Mike started. He's making his move. He's going to try and charm Mia again. Will she be able to resist his manipulative powers this time? Let's find out. Oh, shut up. I muttered under my breath. But we don't have enough money, Mike said with a look of pure innocence, as if he was just being practical about our budget. I glanced at the single bill the producers had given us, then at the admission price for two, and we still had to get back. He had one. I caved again. But if we don't hold hands, they might not believe we're a real couple, right? He gestured toward the other couples signing up. Every single one was holding hands or had their arms linked. Some were even sneaking kisses. Mike got his wish and slipped his hand into mine. It was freezing, a bone-deep cold. I couldn't help myself. I squeezed his hand tighter, trying to warm it up. She's caving. She's just being cheap. The haunted house is the most expensive attraction. Are we here for the haunted house? No, we're here to watch our favorite couple get all cute. Watch your wording. You mean we're here to watch the master manipulator's journey to win back his ex? He held my hand tightly as he followed me, a faint smile on his lips. But as soon as we were plunged into darkness, he instinctively pressed closer, his hand trembling in mine. Don't worry, I'm right here, I said, rubbing the back of his hand with my thumb to soothe him. I thought his plan was for Mia to get scared, so she'd jump into his arms. I was totally wrong. Incredible. He's terrified, and he still insisted on coming here. Honestly, the haunted house wasn't even that scary. It was kind of boring. But Mike was terrified he was slowing me down. Suddenly, a bloody head popped out of the darkness, and an actor in a witch costume lunged at us with clawed hands. The next thing I knew, I had an armful of Mike. He was trembling, his warm breath tickling my neck. His breathing was heavy, and I could feel his heart hammering against my chest. I froze for a second, then figured it was too dark for the cameras to see anything and started rubbing his back. It's okay, you're fine. Does she really think we can't see them? We got night vision on. We waited a few minutes for him to calm down before we continued. When we finally made it out, we collected our free movie tickets. He looked them over and over before carefully, almost ceremoniously, tucking them into his shirt pocket. Then he was back to looking pale and miserable. Mia, I feel really sick. I don't want to get on a bus just yet. Can we walk around for a bit? If not, it's okay. I'd heard that line 3 times now. It was becoming my personal nightmare. That if not, it's okay line is my everything. I can't stop shipping them. The subreddit is already up. Join us. You won't regret it. Since the tickets were 90% off, we actually had a decent amount of cash left. Mike trailed happily behind me, loaded up with snacks. And for some reason, seeing him so happy made me feel a little bit happy too. The moment I realized I was smiling, I knew I was in trouble. I want one of those too, he chirped. No fries, I said coolly. They'll make you bloated. Did you forget about your stomach issues? Oh, okay, he said, the disappointment clear in his voice. But even though I'd been stern with him, he seemed weirdly proud of himself, and his mood improved instantly. He was totally just testing her to see if she still cares. Ooh, a new trick to get your girl's attention. Taking notes. I thought Mike would finally chill out, but we'd barely been back at the house for 5 minutes before he started his next scheme. Mia, I was so scared today, he announced to the room, his face a mask of pure innocence. Thank you for the hug. I could feel the other 4 cast members' shocked and curious eyes boring into me. LOL, you're welcome. I swear, I'm about to punch Mike in his smug face. Mike's face is screaming. That's right, my future wife hugged me today. Did she hug you? No, she did not. I pretty much ignored him for the next 2 days, but he just kept trying to get close to me. LOL, he overplayed his hand. Now his girl's mad. Oh, look at my poor, sad little Mike. He caught a fish and ran over excitedly. Mia, I caught a fish. Uh-huh, I said flatly. Mia, look at the flower crown I made. Uh-huh. But no matter how cold I was, his enthusiasm never wavered. And finally, inevitably, I gave in. Can't she stay mad for more than 2 days? I knew it. Who could possibly say no to someone as cute and persistent as Mike? When we were buying ice cream, he paid before I could even get my wallet out. Already got it, he said. How about you unblock my number and just message me the money? He watched with a smug little smile as I took his number off my block list. The contact name was still my Mikey. I changed it to just his name with a straight face, completely unaware that a camera was filming over my shoulder the entire time. OMG, He used to call her my Mia. I'm dying, that's so sweet. See, this is why shipping a real couple is so much better. That nickname is everything. What an absolute sweetheart. With Mike's relentless pestering, we actually did get closer. I started agreeing to his nightly phone calls, found myself telling him about my schedule. We were just one step away from officially getting back together. One morning, my agent called to tell me I was trending on Twitter. I figured it was because my new movie posters had just dropped and people loved the look. But when I opened the app, I saw it was all Mike's fault. The top tweet was a screenshot from a fan account. The pinned tweet read, "My future wife is so beautiful. I love my wife the most." That absolute moron. It didn't take long for everyone to figure out it was his private account. One of the biggest admins of the Mia and Mike shipping subreddit was Mike himself. LMAO. This is the most epic forgetting to switch accounts moment ever. He totally forgot to log out, didn't he? Ha ha ha. Or maybe he did it on purpose? How easy is it to trace an anonymous fan account? Really? Think about it. The hashtags Mike me is secretly married and hashtag Mike called me his wife were giving me a massive headache. Just then, Mike called me, launching directly into a flawless apology. His tone was sincere. His remorse was palpable. It was like he had a script prepared. "I'm so sorry, Mia. This is all my fault. I didn't mean to cause you all this stress." His voice cracked, like he was on the verge of tears. "It's fine," I sighed, rubbing my temples. I couldn't stay mad at him. Just be more careful next time. At this point, just get married already. What if they're already secretly married? LMAO. I was thinking I should just clear the air with Mike and make it official. But my agent told me to wait, arguing that we could use the buzz for my new movie. That's right, being the workaholic I am, I just wrapped one film and immediately started another. So my schedule was packed with shoots and promotional tours. Coincidentally, my new character was a cool, calculating, and secretly kind-hearted type. Except I wasn't the heroine. I was the villain's right-hand woman. When I arrived on set and saw Mike, dressed in a sweeping dark robe with dramatic, smoky makeup, smiling sweetly at me, my brain short-circuited. "Mia, you're here," he called out, running right over to me without a care for anyone else watching. "Oh my God, the Mike and Mia ship is real," one of the extras shouted excitedly. A wave of whispers went through the crew, and soon, almost everyone was grinning mysteriously. Just then, the Director Miller, ambled over, scratching his bald head. "Mia, Mike, why don't you two run your lines for a bit? We're going to shoot scene 17. Take two. First," Director Miller said, grinning at me a little too cheerfully. Then he scurried off toward the cameras. I remember that scene. My character, Lyra, rescues the villain's son, Orion, after he's been drugged with an aphrodisiac. Lyra then becomes infatuated with him and takes him back to her chambers for a passionate encounter. Take two was the passionate encounter part. I glanced over at the beaming Director Miller. Of all the hobbies he could have picked up, he had to become a shipper. By the time I was in costume and makeup, the previous scene had wrapped. It was our turn. Mike, in character, pushed me down onto the chaise lounge. His eyes were meant to be flushed with desire, his movements rough from the drug's effect. He started kissing and nipping at my neck, but then for some reason, he suddenly blushed bright red, his eyes filled with actual shyness. "Cut," Director Miller yelled. "Mike, what are you doing? Why are you blushing? I need a predator, a wild animal. You're drugged. You should be furious. I want a ravenous beast, not a bashful bunny. And you, Mia, your eyes need to be more seductive. For God's sake, you're an Oscar winner who can't take a kiss? Mia, you were his first love. Didn't you teach him anything? You two, go practice. Now." Mike and I mumbled our apologies. He was right. It was her fault. The next thing I knew, Mike had me pressed against the doorframe of my dressing room, his lips on mine. He still wasn't getting that fierce energy, but his lips were incredibly soft. Director Miller had a point. Mike really wasn't a great kisser. He was so intense that my lips started to feel a little bruised. This wasn't going to work. If he couldn't get into character, we'd be here all day, holding up the entire production. As he continued his clumsy, clinging kisses, I tried to think of a way to make him genuinely angry. Suddenly, an idea hit me. I gently pushed him back, looked him right in the eye, and said with complete seriousness, "You know, I actually dated someone else after we broke up." "What?" His hands were braced on the doorframe on either side of my head, his eyes wide. "Yeah," I continued. "It was maybe 2 weeks after I ended things with you." He didn't give me a chance to say another word. He slammed his lips against mine, kissing me with a raw fury, as if he wanted to suck all the air from my lungs. It was only when Director Miller called for us that he bit my lip one last time before pulling away. "So, how was my performance?" he asked, his voice low. "Perfect," I replied. But Mike's face was like stone. He clearly had no intention of speaking to me further. On camera, his eyes were red-rimmed with a vicious, cruel light. He kissed me roughly, his stare like a viper's, trying to pierce right through me. Cut. That was perfect. We got it. After the scene, Mike's face was still stormy, like I owed him $1 million. He didn't say a word, just followed me around, glaring at me with pure resentment. When he followed me all the way to my trailer door, I finally broke. Okay, fine, stop following me, I said. I was lying. You're the only one I've ever dated. His whole face lit up. Instead of leaving, he shamelessly walked right into my trailer, took my hand, and reverted to his sweet, innocent act. Mia, you're the best. When the official cast list was released, the shippers declared it a national holiday. Oh, Mia and Mike are playing lovers. I'm already shipping their characters. I read the book, and I'm already blushing. One of the behind-the-scenes videographers leaked the clip of director Miller yelling at us to a gossip site, packaging it as a sizzling preview. My wig is gone. I volunteer to be the bashful bunny. Clearly Mia likes them innocent. I was stunned when I first read the script, and I prayed that the actor playing Orion would be someone I knew well. Turns out he was someone I knew, all right. Knew inside and out. Mia, my hands are cold. I glanced at him, then took his hand without changing my expression. They're holding hands. A group of young extras nearby started whispering excitedly, staring at us. I glanced over at them, and one of them got pushed forward. He came up to me, blushing, and held out a poster. Mia, could you sign this? I'm a huge fan. My fan was asking me to sign a poster of me and Mike together. Definitely a shipper. I signed it for him, and just as I expected, he immediately turned to Mike with the same line. Mike, I'm a huge fan. Could you sign this too? Mike signed his name right below mine. The kid gave a deep bow, stammered out a thank you, and ran back to celebrate with his friends. Mia, Mike said a moment later, there's a line here I don't quite get. Can we run this scene? I can only say it was another one of his excuses to kiss me. After countless accidental flubbed lines and repeated takes of kissing and embracing, I was finally free. Filming was over. At the wrap party, Mike sat quietly beside me, occasionally putting some food on my plate. So, Mia, director Miller boomed for everyone to hear. When are you two making it official? Mike's ears perked up, and he eagerly put even more food on my plate. We're not together, I said. He immediately deflated, looking at me with sad puppy dog eyes, though he kept serving me food. Mike's a great guy, Mia. You don't want to let him get away, the director advised. I heard Mike whisper, yeah, exactly. God, he was so cute. Yeah, I said. I know. I went to the restroom, and when I came back, something was off with Mike. His cheeks were flushed, and his eyes were hazy. When he looked up at me, his eyes seemed to be sparkling. Mia, he slurred. I glanced at the glass in front of him. It was my whiskey. It looked like he'd only had a tiny sip, but since he never drank, that was more than enough. I apologized to everyone and helped him to his feet. They all watched us go with knowing, we get it expressions. You really don't give a damn about your stomach, do you? I muttered. In the taxi, he wrapped his arms around my waist and rested his head on my shoulder, mumbling, Mia. From the way he was acting, you'd think he'd had 2 whole bottles completely out of it. Luckily, he was surprisingly steady on his feet, so I didn't have to support him. He just trotted obediently behind me. I watched him clumsily take off his shoes at the door, then try to put the guest slippers on over his socks to come inside. I sighed, sat him down on the couch, and went to make him some tea and find his stomach medicine. No, he mumbled, wrinkling his nose at the pills. Behave, I said, or I'm kicking you out. It had been a long day, and my voice was tight with exhaustion and annoyance. He quieted down immediately and took the medicine. I remembered how he used to feel insecure sleeping alone, how he'd show up at my door clutching a pillow, and I couldn't bring myself to make him sleep on the couch. I led him to the bedroom instead. Mia, I really like you, Mia, he murmured, hugging my waist and planting a soft kiss on my cheek. He sounded half asleep, but completely serious. His words sent ripples through my heart. Soon, his breathing evened out. He was asleep on his side, facing me, his forehead resting against my shoulder. He unconsciously nuzzled against me a couple of times. The next morning, Mike woke up with a headache, rubbing his temples. His eyes lit up with surprise when he saw me working at my desk. Then he peeked under the covers at himself, and a flicker of disappointment crossed his face, probably because he saw he was still fully dressed. You're awake? Yeah. Morning, Mia. Morning. Go get washed up. Mia, did we sleep in the same bed last night? I thought about it for a second and decided it was time to finally define our relationship. We'd shared a bed. We had to talk about it. Yeah. So what are we now? What do you think we are? Are we a couple? You got it. Your prize is a bowl of oatmeal on the kitchen table. It's gonna get cold if you don't hurry up, I said, not looking up from my script. He was so overjoyed he planted a quick, pre-toothbrushing kiss on my cheek before happily skipping off to the bathroom. I wiped my cheek, feigning disgust, but I couldn't stop the sweet feeling spreading through my chest. When I walked into the kitchen, Mike was brushing his teeth with one hand and texting with the other. Focus on brushing, I said. He put his phone down immediately, being perfectly obedient, but he refused to keep our relationship a secret. I worked so hard setting this all up on the show, he argued. I'm not going to be your secret boyfriend again. If you had just been willing to go public back in college, I wouldn't have had to go to all this trouble in the first place. I thought about it, and he had a point. Back in college, I just didn't want to deal with everyone's questions. It felt like a hassle. I always thought a relationship was just between two people and nobody else needed to know. Mia official. A reunion after all this time is just the beginning of our romance. At MikeOfficial / MikeOfficial, I'll always run to you. This time and every time. At MiaOfficial, the internet broke. I couldn't even get the page to load. OMG, my boy finally has a title. I knew it was real. The reunion is the beginning. Our friends all sent their congratulations, and even Leo, who I barely knew, posted something to get in on the buzz. This is our Super Bowl. My ship is real. Who knows the feeling of having the actual couple force feeding you content? I honestly thought people were just shipping us for fun, and that if we actually got together, there would be a huge backlash. I was surprised that Mike's fans were mostly supportive. A few of his diehard solo stans made some snarky comments, but there was no major opposition. Mia, why are you frowning? You're not having second thoughts, are you? He asked, his voice rising in a panic. Because you can't. We already announced it. I watched him pout. The usually reserved Mike was becoming so much more open and bright, just like he was in college. I guess happiness really does make you feel young again. We did a joint interview together. Have you two thought about marriage? The interviewer asked. Any relationship that isn't heading towards marriage is just a fling, unless that's what both people want, Mike answered smoothly. So what's changed in your lives since you got together? Well, I said, I don't have to cook my own meals anymore, and I don't have to take my own clothes off. My hand was getting tired, so I switched the microphone to my other hand, letting go of Mike's. I saw his expression fall for a second, but thankfully he didn't make a scene. And do you hope your future kids look more like mom or dad? When a reporter asked that, I realized I'd forgotten to discuss something very important. I want to be child-free, and I'd never told Mike. I went quiet and turned to look at Mike. His expression was neutral. He looked back at me, as if he was ready to accept whatever I was about to say. We're actually not planning on having kids, I said with a small smile. Yeah, Mike added smoothly. Pregnancy and childbirth are so hard on the body. I wouldn't want Mia to go through that. The reporter moved on. Do you think your relationship is different this time around, after breaking up and getting back together? Yes, Mike answered without hesitation. It's made me more certain than ever that I want to be with her. The first fan question came from a young woman. Mia, since you and Mike are both actors with crazy schedules, especially you, how do you maintain your relationship? Don't you drift apart? I thought for a moment. No, not at all. Mike is incredibly busy, but no one is ever too busy to send a text. It takes 3 seconds to type in a meeting. Besides, he's pretty clingy. He keeps me updated on everything and calls or FaceTimes me the second he has a free moment, so we never feel distant. The next question was also from a woman. What would you do if one of you cheated? My partner would never do that. Mike answered for us. And now he's going to be sad that you even suggested it. Mia, you're turning 29 this year, right? He asked one night, his arms wrapped around my waist. Yeah, why? I knew he wasn't worried about my age. I have a friend who got married the day she turned 18, he said, looking at me with an expression that was less of a hint and more of a demand. Okay, I agreed immediately. As soon as my schedule clears up. Mike was way more excited than I was. He held on to me for the longest time, his breathing growing heavier. Mike, get off of me. I have to be on set early tomorrow. I already called and told him you'd be sick. On his birthday, I proposed. There were no 99 roses. Instead, I knelt down on one knee holding a bouquet I'd made by folding 99 $100 bills into flowers. It was incredibly tacky. Mike, will you be my husband? Yes. I thought he'd be as calm as he was when I'd agreed to be his girlfriend again. But seeing the reverence and hope in his eyes, I couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement myself. We got married on a private island. It wasn't a huge, lavish affair. My dress was a simple but beautiful form-fitting mermaid gown. We asked one of Mike's friends, the famous rapper Liam Carter, to officiate. Do you, Mike, take Mia to be your lawfully wedded wife to have and to hold for the rest of your days? I do. And do you, Mia, take Mike to be your lawfully wedded husband to love, honor, and cherish him from this day forward? I do. You may now kiss the groom. Mike was so nervous and excited. He was usually the one initiating kisses, but now he didn't even know where to put his hands. I took his hands and placed them on my waist as I leaned in to kiss him. We'd only invited our closest friends and family. We didn't announce it to the public. Mia official. She ruined my plan to die alone. / Mike official. Its wife. My wife. Mike wasn't satisfied until we posted a picture of our marriage license on Twitter. Mia, he whispered, you're stuck with me for the rest of your life now. Yeah, I whispered back. Stuck with you.